My girlfriend said, "Make a wish at midnight." I replied, "I wish you gone." Then I ended the lease, took my keys, disappeared before countdown, and I smiled when her wish never came true. "Hey, Reddit. Make a wish at midnight," she said, her voice dripping with that rehearsed sweetness she'd been using all week. "We can start fresh. New year, new us." I looked at her across our apartment, technically my apartment, since my name was the only one on the lease, and felt absolutely nothing. "I wish you were gone," I said. "That's my wish." The color drained from her face. The champagne bottle she'd been holding slipped an inch in her grip. It was 11:47 p.m. on New Year's Eve, and I'd just made my resolution 13 minutes early. I'm 32. We'd been together for 3 years, lived together for 18 months, and I was about to walk out of both with exactly 13 minutes left in the worst year of my life. "What?" Her voice cracked. "What did you just say?" I reached into my pocket and pulled out my keys. The apartment key, the mailbox key, the storage locker key, all on the ring she'd given me for our first anniversary. It had our initials engraved on it. I set them on the kitchen counter with a metallic clink that seemed to echo in the sudden silence. "You heard me, Nat. I'm done." "Done? What are you?" "We have plans tonight. Our friends are coming over in 20 minutes. I made food. I bought champagne. You can tell them I had an emergency. Or tell them the truth. I honestly don't care which." She set the champagne down, her hands starting to shake. "Is this because of dinner last week?" "Because I already apologized for that." I said I was sorry. I almost laughed. Dinner last week. Like that was the problem. Like this entire disaster could be traced back to one uncomfortable meal where she'd accidentally told my boss I was looking for other jobs, which I wasn't. But she wanted me to be, because my current position didn't pay enough for the lifestyle she decided we should have. "This isn't about dinner," I said, pulling my phone from my pocket. "This is about everything." "Everything? What does that even mean?" I opened my banking app and held up the screen. She squinted at it, confused at first. Then recognition dawned, followed by panic. "You changed the account." I separated the account. I corrected. Moved my money into my own account. "The joint one? That was your idea, remember? You said it would make us more like a real couple. More committed." "We are a real couple." "Are we?" "Because real couples don't drain joint accounts to buy $1,000 handbags. Real couples don't forge their partner's signature on credit card applications." Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. "I can explain that." "I know you can. You've been explaining things for 6 months now. Every charge, every purchase, every lie. You always have an explanation." I grabbed my jacket from the couch. "I'm just done listening to them." The apartment suddenly felt too small, too warm. I could see her mind working, cycling through her usual tactics. The tears would come first, then the anger, then the bargaining. I'd seen this routine enough times to predict the script. "Where are you going?" The tears were starting, right on schedule. "You can't just leave. Not like this. Not on New Year's Eve. Watch me." I moved toward the door, but she stepped in front of it. Classic move. She'd done this before, back in August when I tried to take a weekend to clear my head. "Please," she said, and now the waterworks were in full effect. Mascara starting to run, bottom lip trembling. "Please don't do this. We can work through this. Couples therapy. I'll get a job. I'll pay you back. Whatever you want. I want to leave, Nat. That's what I want. But I love you." 3 words that used to mean everything. Now they just sounded like noise. "No, you don't. You love what I provide. There's a difference." She grabbed my arm. Her nails dug in through my jacket. "That's not fair. That's not true. I do love you. I've always loved you." I looked down at her hand on my arm, then back up at her face. "You cashed in my savings bonds last month. The ones my grandmother left me. You remember those?" Her grip loosened slightly. "I only found out because the bank sent me a letter about updating my beneficiary information. Those bonds were worth $43,000. They would have matured in 2 years and been worth $60,000. You cashed them out early and paid penalties." I pulled my arm free. You want to tell me where that money went?" Silence. For the first time all night, she had no explanation ready. That's what I thought. I stepped around her and opened the door. Cold December air rushed in. From down the hall, I could hear someone's party already in full swing. Music, laughter, the sound of people actually enjoying themselves. "The lease ends January 31st, I said without turning around. "That gives you 2 months. My lawyer will contact you about the debt repayment plan. You can sign it, or we can do this in court. Your choice." "Your lawyer?" Her voice was small now. Scared. "You already called a lawyer?" 2 weeks ago, right after I found the credit card statements you'd been hiding in your car." I heard her breath catch. Another thing she thought I didn't know about. "Goodbye, Nat. Have a happy new year." I stepped into the hallway and let the door close behind me. For a moment, I just stood there, half expecting her to follow me out, to make a scene in front of the neighbors. But the door stayed closed. My phone said 11:53. 7 minutes until midnight. 7 minutes until everyone else in the world counted down to new beginnings and fresh starts, and all that hopeful garbage people tell themselves when one calendar year ends and another begins. I walked down 3 flights of stairs instead of taking the elevator. Needed the time to think, to process what I'd just done. My hands were shaking slightly. Adrenaline, probably. Or relief. Maybe both. The cold air outside hit me like a wall. I hadn't grabbed a scarf. Hadn't thought to. But I didn't care. I just started walking, no particular destination in mind. My phone buzzed. Text from Nat. "Please come back. We can talk about this." Another buzz. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please." Another. "Don't throw away 3 years over money." I silenced my phone and kept walking. Here's what I hadn't told her. What I'd been keeping to myself for the past 2 months while I planned my exit strategy. I'd met Nat at a friend's birthday party. She was funny, charming, attentive in all the ways that made you feel like the most important person in the room. We dated for 6 months before she suggested moving in together. Her lease was ending. Mine was already a 2-bedroom. It made sense. The first few months were good. Great, even. She cooked. I cleaned. We split groceries. Watched TV together. Did normal couple things. I thought I'd found someone stable. Someone who had their life together. The cracks started showing around month 4. Small things at first. She'd forget her wallet when we went out. Or she'd suggest expensive restaurants and then get quiet when the bill came, leaving me to cover it. I didn't mind initially. I made decent money as a software engineer. Paying for dinner wasn't going to bankrupt me. But it escalated. Designer clothes started appearing in our closet. They were on sale, she'd say. Except I'd looked up the prices. $1,500 for a coat wasn't a sale. It was insanity. Then came the joint account suggestion. "It's what serious couples do," she'd said. "Don't you want us to be serious?" I was an idiot. I agreed. Within 3 months, she'd spent $18,000. On what? I still wasn't entirely sure. Clothes, definitely. Spa days. Brunches with her friends where she'd pick up the entire tab to look generous. A weekend trip to Miami that she'd planned without telling me, then acted hurt when I said I couldn't take time off work. When I confronted her about the spending, she cried. Said she was stressed. Said she'd been struggling with anxiety and shopping made her feel better. Said she'd pay me back. She never did. I should have ended it then. That was September. But she promised to do better. Promised to get help. Promised to find a job and contribute. October came. No job. More spending. But now she was hiding the statements. November. I found the credit card she'd opened in my name. $7,000 charged to it. When I asked her about it, she said she'd planned to tell me. Said it was for Christmas gifts. Said I was being controlling and paranoid. That was when I called the lawyer. I'd spent the last 6 weeks documenting everything. Every charge, every forged signature, every lie. Building a case. Making sure that when I walked away, I could do it cleanly. Legally. Without her being able to claim I'd abandoned her or that we had some kind of common law marriage claim to my assets. My phone buzzed again. I pulled it out, planning to block her number entirely. But it wasn't Nat. It was my buddy Chris. Yo, you still coming tonight? Party's just getting started. Chris. Right. I'd forgotten I'd told him I might stop by his New Year's thing. That was back when I still thought I might stay through midnight. Before I'd decided tonight was the night. I typed back, yeah, I'll be there in 20. Awesome. Fair warning though, I invited some people from work, including Megan. I stared at that name for a long moment. Megan. We'd met at a conference 3 months ago. Same company, different departments. We'd ended up at the same bar after a presentation, started talking about the mind-numbing corporate speech we'd just endured, and ended up closing down the place at 2 in the morning, just talking about everything and nothing. She was funny, smart, had her own place, her own career, her own life. Didn't need anyone to fund her existence. We'd kept in touch after the conference. Nothing inappropriate. Just texts about work stuff, occasionally grabbing coffee in the break room. But there was something there. Something I'd been very carefully not thinking about because I was in a relationship. A relationship I'd just ended. Sounds good. I typed back. The walk to Chris's place took 15 minutes. My phone kept buzzing. Nat mostly. A few texts from our mutual friends asking where I was. I ignored all of them. By the time I got to Chris's apartment building, it was 11:58. 2 minutes until midnight. I could hear the party from the lobby. Someone had excellent speakers and questionable taste in music. I took the elevator up to the 4th floor, rehearsing what I'd say when people asked where Nat was. The door was propped open. I walked into a wall of sound and heat. People everywhere. Chris spotted me immediately. Dude, you made it. He was already drunk, by the look of things. He threw an arm around my shoulders. Where's Nat? Not coming, I said, loud enough to be heard over the music. What? Why not? Long story. Tell you later. He looked like he wanted to press for details, but someone called his name from the kitchen and he got distracted. I grabbed a beer from a cooler and made my way through the crowd. 10 seconds, someone shouted. The room started counting down. 10, 9, 8. I found a spot by the window, looking out at the city. Lights everywhere. Other apartments, other parties, other people counting down to whatever they hoped the new year would bring them. 7, 6, 5. My phone buzzed one more time. I pulled it out. Nat, I'm pregnant. I stared at those 2 words. 4, 3, 2. And then I did something I hadn't expected to do. I laughed. Because Nat had gotten her tubes tied 2 years ago. She'd told me she never wanted kids. Made a whole thing about it. Took me to the appointment. I'd even held her hand during the recovery. This was her final play. The ultimate manipulation. The last card in the deck. 1. Happy New Year. The room erupted. Cheers, horns, people kissing, champagne popping. I took a sip of my beer and typed back a single word. No. Then I blocked her number. There you are. I turned. Megan was standing there in a dark blue dress, holding a glass of something that looked dangerously pink. Hey, I said. Chris said you might show up. Also said Nat wasn't with you. She phrased it like a question, but her tone was careful. Neutral. Nat and I broke up, I said. About an hour ago. Her eyebrows went up. Oh, wow. I'm sorry. Don't be. I'm not. She studied me for a moment, like she was trying to figure out if I was serious or just putting on a brave face. You want to talk about it? She asked. Not really. I want to have a beer and forget the last 3 years happened. She nodded slowly. I can work with that. We moved to the balcony. It was freezing out there, which meant we had it to ourselves. The city stretched out below us, still buzzing with New Year's energy. So, Megan said after a moment, worst New Year's ever, or best New Year's ever? I considered the question. Thought about Nat back at the apartment, probably still crying. Thought about the mess I'd have to clean up over the next few months. The legal fees. The debt recovery. The awkward conversations with mutual friends. But then I thought about the keys on the counter. The apartment I wouldn't have to share anymore. The bank account that was finally, truly mine. The freedom to make decisions without someone guilt-tripping me about being selfish or not caring about us. Best, I said. Definitely best. She smiled. Not a pitying smile. Not a skeptical smile. Just a genuine, honest smile. Good for you, she said. Seriously, good for you. We stood there in comfortable silence for a while, watching the city. Someone inside started playing something slow. Couples were dancing, swaying to the music. Can I ask you something? Megan said eventually. Sure. That night at the conference. At the bar. You almost said something. I could tell. But you stopped yourself. She looked at me. What were you going to say? I remembered that night. The way the conversation had flowed so easily. The way she'd laughed at my terrible jokes. The moment, right around 1 in the morning, when I'd almost said something monumentally stupid. I was going to ask if you wanted to grab dinner sometime, I admitted. Then I remembered I had a girlfriend and felt like garbage for even thinking it. And now I don't have a girlfriend. No, she agreed. You don't. The music inside changed. Something upbeat now. People were cheering again, probably starting on their second round of champagne. Megan held up her pink drink. To New Year's, she said. And new starts. I tapped my beer bottle against her glass. To getting out before it got worse. That too. We drank. The moment felt surreal. 12 hours ago, I'd been psyching myself up to have the conversation. 6 hours ago, I'd been rehearsing what to say. 1 hour ago, I'd said it. And now I was here, on a balcony, with someone who actually seemed to enjoy my company without needing anything from me. My phone, which I'd forgotten I'd unblocked for Chris's messages, buzzed again. Not Nat this time. My lawyer. Got your voicemail. Congrats on pulling the trigger. Call me Monday, and we'll go over next steps. Happy New Year. I showed Megan the text. My lawyer, I explained. I've been planning this for a while. Smart, she said. Going in prepared. Had to. Nat's not the type to go quietly. What type is she? I thought about how to answer that. The type who just texted me saying she's pregnant to try to get me to come back. Megan's eyes widened. Is she? No. She's sterile. Had surgery 2 years ago. Jesus. Yeah. Megan shook her head slowly. You dodged a bullet. More like a missile. We stayed on the balcony for another hour, talking. About work. About families. About the weird things people do when relationships fall apart. She told me about her ex, who'd ghosted her after 3 years together. Just stopped answering texts one day and moved to another state. At least you ended it face to face, she said. That takes guts. Or stupidity. Haven't decided which yet. Guts, she said firmly. Definitely guts. Around 1:30, people started leaving. Chris found us on the balcony and gave me a look that was half impressed, half confused. So he said, you broke up with Nat tonight? Yep. And you came here anyway? Yep. He looked at Megan, then back at me. Huh. Okay then. He clapped me on the shoulder. You doing okay? I'm great, actually. And I was. For the first time in months, I felt light. Like I'd been carrying something heavy for so long I'd forgotten what it felt like to stand up straight. Chris wandered back inside. Megan checked her phone. I should probably head out, she said. Early meeting tomorrow. Well, today. You know what I mean. Yeah. Same. We walked back through the apartment, which looked like a champagne bottle had exploded in a confetti factory. Chris was passed out on the couch. A few other people were still hanging on, but the energy had definitely shifted from party to aftermath. Outside, we stood on the sidewalk. The street was quiet now. The city had burned through its New Year's energy and settled into the cold, quiet hours of the early morning. This was nice, Megan said. I mean, not the breakup part. Obviously. But this. Talking to you. Yeah, it was. She pulled out her phone. You still have my number? I do. Use it. When things calm down. When you're ready. She smiled. I'd like to have that dinner we talked about. I'd like that too. She started to walk away, then turned back. Hey, that thing you said to Nat. The wish. Yeah. It already came true. You realize that, right? You wished she was gone, and then you left. You made your own wish come true. I hadn't thought about it that way. But she was right. Happy New Year, Megan said. Happy New Year. I watched her walk to her car, then headed to my own. It was parked 3 blocks away, and the walk gave me time to think about everything that had happened. By the time I got behind the wheel, it was almost 2 in the morning. I sat there for a moment, engine running, heat slowly kicking in. My phone buzzed. I'd forgotten to re-block Nat's number. I can't believe you do this to me. To us. After everything we've been through. I deleted the message. Blocked the number again. This time permanently. Then I drove. Not home. That didn't feel like home anymore. Not anywhere specific. Just drove through the empty city streets, watching the night shift workers heading to their jobs and the party people stumbling home. Around 3, I pulled into a 24-hour diner. Ordered coffee and pie. The waitress looked exhausted but smiled anyway. "Rough night?" she asked. "Best night I've had in years," I said. She laughed, like she thought I was joking. I wasn't. I ate my pie slowly, savoring it. Thought about the apartment. I'd have to go back eventually. Get my stuff. Make sure Nat understood the lease situation. But not tonight. Tonight I could just sit here and exist without anyone needing anything from me. My lawyer had talked about the recovery process. Getting back the money she'd stolen would take time. Might not even get all of it back. But I didn't care. The money was just money. What I'd gotten back was something more important. My life. My choices. My future. Around 4, I paid the bill and left. Drove to a hotel near the airport. Checked in. Crashed hard on a bed that wasn't mine and didn't have any memories attached to it. I slept for 12 hours straight. When I woke up, it was afternoon. New Year's Day. The first day of the rest of everything. I checked my phone. Messages from friends asking what happened. A voicemail from my lawyer with some preliminary paperwork instructions. Nothing from Nat. The block was holding. And one text from Megan. "Hope you got some sleep. Coffee Monday morning." I smiled and typed back, "Absolutely." Then I opened my banking app and looked at my accounts. The joint account was empty. I transferred my half out last week. But my personal account showed exactly what I'd put in it. No mysterious charges. No unauthorized purchases. Just my money, sitting there, waiting for me to decide what to do with it. I thought about Nat's midnight wish. Whatever it had been, it didn't matter now. She'd been banking on me being too scared to leave. Too invested in the sunk cost of 3 years. Too worried about looking like the bad guy. But I'd figured something out over the past few months of planning this escape. Sometimes being the bad guy in someone else's story is exactly what you need to be the hero in your own. I checked out of the hotel around 3. Drove back toward the city. Stopped at a coffee shop I'd never been to before. Ordered something complicated with oat milk and vanilla and way too much foam. It was overpriced and probably not worth it. But it was mine. My choice. My stupid expensive coffee. And I smiled while I drank it. Because my wish had come true. Not at midnight. Not with champagne and a countdown and all that manufactured hope. But in the quiet moment when I'd set those keys on the counter and walked away from everything that was destroying me. I'd wished for freedom. And I'd given it to myself. Best New Year's Eve of my life.